Sunshiners, I just want to get real with you for a moment. Have you ever felt like a fraud in your own business? Or just in your life, really? Have you ever felt like a fraud? Like you're just faking your way through and it's only a matter of time before somebody finds out? And if so, then you're definitely not alone. Imposter syndrome. Awful. It is. Just awful. And it happens to the best of us. Um, it makes you feel like you're just not worthy and you doubt yourself and all that kind of stuff. And again, I know because I've been there and it still happens to me. But imposter syndrome is something so many women struggle with, and it's more women than men. Men tend to work at it differently. I'm not saying that they don't experience imposter syndrome at all, but they don't have the same. It doesn't have the same attachment to it. And it often feels like a sneaky, persistent voice whispering, "You're not good enough. You don't belong here. You can't do this." The voice, too, is often somebody that you're familiar with. Mine's always my mum. Um, keep coming round and keep telling me this thing over and over again. The heartbreaking thing about imposter syndrome and this little voice is that it doesn't come from the truth. It comes from old stories. It comes from self-doubt. And it comes even from social messages telling women to minimize their achievements. I'm not one of these burn your brow and all this kind of stuff. I'm a great believer that there's some jobs that women just can't do, and are more suited to men. What does aggravate me is when a woman is doing the exact same job as a man and she's getting the same results as a man, she's paid less money for it. Now, that's a bit of a bugbear and that's a completely different thing to talk about, but that does annoy me a little bit. In fact, it annoys me quite a lot. And a lot of it comes from, women being told that they should stay at home and look after a family. They were always sort of seen as a second-class citizen. Even really on a chessboard, if you think about chess, the queen is always protecting the king, and that's her role to do that. But, the king is ultimately the one that's in control. So this is why I think imposter syndrome comes up more for women than it does for men. The tricky part is imposter syndrome can keep you stuck. It makes you hesitate, to raise your prices, to speak up, to go for that promotion. It holds you back from your ideas that you've got. It stops you from saying things. You might be sat in a meeting and you've got the most fantastic idea that might get the company from here to here, but you're frightened of saying anything. Yet a man will sit next to you and he'll open his mouth and he'll say what he needs to say. And imposter syndrome can even delay you from launching your own dream project if that's what you want to do. It can have a massive impact on our lives, especially women. So how do we quieten that voice? Well, I'll tell you how we can do that. And this is how I've helped my clients to make that voice less powerful. So first, give it a name and recognize it for what it is. It's a pattern, it's not a fact. Then, by practicing self-compassion, you can then start to build past it. When it starts to speak to you, instantly shut it down and make it smaller. It doesn't have to be this big, void that sort of sucks you in. It can just be something, that you can make tiny. When the imposter voice shows up, gently remind yourself, I am learning, I am growing, I am enough. I'll say that again. I am learning, I am growing, I am enough. Another powerful tool that you can use against imposter syndrome is to celebrate wins no matter how small they are. Write them down. Have a little journal at the side of your bed and write down your wins that you've done that day. Even if it's something really, really tiny, like, you wrote an ebook or you went out with some friends and had a coffee. Write it down because that's a win. And then share them with a friend, someone you trust, someone who isn't going to be judgy, because you don't want someone judgy. For me, I share everything with my husband and my daughter. Um, so choose someone that you can share them with and let them remind you of your capability and your courage. Let them give you that bit of encouragement. Soak that up. If imposter syndrome is holding you back right now, then I've created a free worksheet called Silence Your Inner Critic, and it's to help you recognize these thoughts and replace them with empowering truths. And the link's below, so you can get that from there. And I want you to think about this. You belong exactly where you are, and your gifts are needed. Don't let that voice steal your sunshine. Don't let it. I let that voice steal my sunshine for years, and I won't let it do it anymore. It tries to, but I don't let it do it. So go and shine and be beautiful, and I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.